How's everybody doing today? All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Here I am with the My I Got Lazy team. We're here from New York. And my name is Cisco. I'm the founder of My I Got Lazy, which is a self-published zine with a focus on street photography, the community, beyond social media, and more on print. So just to fill you in, the name My I Got Lazy is a term that a friend of mine was using last year at Art Basel, and he was like, I was so amped with what I saw out here, and I was just shooting and the culture and graffiti, whatever, everything was happening, and I was like, you catch this? He's like, nah, My I Got Lazy, My I Got Lazy, and I would have shot that, but My I Got Lazy, and then I go, that's a good T-shirt idea. I was like, yo, let's get somebody to do a T-shirt for us. And then right off the bat, I said, nah, that's going to be the name of the zine. I said, that is going to be what we were talking about earlier. And basically, earlier that night, I found myself talking to other photographers and how saturated the industry is. I mean, not the industry, but just photography in general because of social media. Nowadays, we're just kind of scrolling through our phones, almost like a Tinder app, and we're not really enjoying it. And, I was a little also frustrated with the misrepresentation of street, and the cats that are really putting on these street photography shows. And I've been overseas. I've been over to, Europe and whatnot. And, when I said the light bulb went off with the name My I Got Lazy, I envisioned a platform for photographers to share their work. And I said, you know what? This is for those who are passionate and who are putting in the work, and similar to what graffiti does. So I don't really care how many followers you have. It shouldn't really matter on that. It shouldn't really matter what school you went to. A street is street, and it's really all about being active. So here I am, 1 year later, with a team and some artists.
That's right.
So Volume 9 is our 9th issue, and this issue is dedicated to graffiti, and we're showcasing the work of 8 photographers from different backgrounds. We got the street photographer, we got the documentarian, we got the graffiti artist. He literally just got back from painting something, right? Last night.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. So yeah. So first and foremost, I just want to thank the Museum of Graffiti for giving us this opportunity. More importantly, I want to thank the artists involved. The team here has been great, but we couldn't be here without the artists. That's the most important part for us. So yeah.
Can we get all the assholes in the back talking to come forward, please?
There we go. So today I'm joined by 3 photographers.
Sal's got something to say.
2 photographers.
So today I'm joined by 3 photographers who all have ties within the culture. And we're really going to just literally have a conversation to touch on the dynamic synergy between photography and graffiti. So let's begin by introducing ourselves. I guess we can start with John Andre.
Hello, everyone. How you doing tonight? I'm still last night. Welcome here. We're here today to drop our 9th issue, which we just spoke about, which is My I Got Lazy, and is a self-publicated zine that we started about a year ago, and we. Actually, the idea of the zine came together at Art Basel, so it's funny that we're here a year later, presenting the zine again. This issue is based on graffiti, so we're here to kind of just introduce this with the Museum of Graffiti. It's a great collaboration with us, and we're so grateful for that. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Jean Andre. I'm an analog Polaroid film photographer. I've been shooting for about 20 years. For the last 15 years or so, I've been strictly shooting Polaroids on the streets of New York. It's been a journey, to say the least. I've been very much tapped into the street culture, street community, everything that kind of represents the streets, because over the last 15 years, I've been working strictly on the streets of New York. And being on the streets of New York, you really get a sense of the culture and what's really going on. So it's been great to come together with Cisco on this zine because representing street culture is why we're all here. You know what I mean? When you think about street culture in itself, it kind of brings a lot of different walks of life together because my mentor likes to say we all have to come outside at some point. So no matter the walks of life, where you come from, who you are, we all come together with our love of street culture. So that's why we're here today. I'm gonna pass the mic on to Erin.
Hi.
For your intro, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin, Patrice O'Brien. I'm a photographer based out of Brooklyn, New York, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Cisco. Zach.
We got the OG in the building, y'all. This is.
Oh, and she's got workouts
Thank
too.
you,
got work.
Alan Kett.
Yeah.
Like, I've known you forever, and he's the first person that ever hired and published me back in, like, 97 for Stress Magazine. So give it up for Stress Magazine.
Stress
Woo,
Magazine.
Stress
Stress
Magazine.
Magazine.
Yeah, and thank you, Allison. So,
Yeah, I mean, tell us who you are, what you do. I mean, you got some incredible work out here. You really like this. Erin is an OG, so she's got it, you know.
So I feel like I'm not a great public speaker, and I feel like I come from the era where photographers didn't really talk or write anything about their work, and then all of a sudden with the social media, you have to write stuff and do all this stuff, and I don't even know how to do that. Like, I'm a behind the camera person, so I feel like
Get into it.
awkward.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
anyway, I'm showing some work here. It's hip-hop portraits that I've done, and that's in the entrance of the museum. A couple of them I did with Alan at different publications he was at. And then I met with Cisco, and we actually started talking about graffiti. And I had done a shoot with Complex magazine that they never published because when they were putting it together, they thought it was going to be kind of like the Fader. And what happened was it was more like the Fader meets Maxim with booties and stuff. And so
Yeah, that's a fact.
I just had this amazing work that I did with V. Bravo and Rachel Ramis. We all went to Chile and Argentina and documented the influence of hip-hop that was just starting in South America.
And that was
So,
what, 2001, right?
2001.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
it's never been published, right?
Never been published.
And here I am. I walk into her studio, and I'm like, I don't know who she is. It was recommended by Alan, and I was like, all right, let me see what's up. You know, very friendly on the phone. So thank you again, and
Thanks for
so
having
welcoming.
me.
And when you showed me your work, I was like, she showed me the work from Cuba, which is one thing, but then she said, now let's go back to like 2001, the Chile, Argentina, and I like that a lot. That was fire.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Dr.
Is it my
Dax.
turn?
So Dax, tell us about you. Who are you?
I'm an
Who's
animal.
Dax? Who's Dax?
The guy on the cover.
No, I don't even know where to start who I am. I'm just Dax. I'm Dr. Dax. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I do a lot of questionable, seedy things, I guess, to some people in society, but things I'm unapologetic about. I take pictures of some of these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a graffiti writer.
Yes, you're a graffiti writer, and I was on tour last year with the Roadmap tour, documenting the experience. And my first stop, I actually flew down to Atlanta. I took an Uber to Dax's house, and you know, I'm in his living room, and I'm just chilling. Kitchen. What am I saying? I'm in your kitchen. I got my laptop out, the camera. He doesn't know who I am, so as a graffiti artist, he's kind of like sizing me out, like, who is this guy? You know, give me the side eye.
And you were from New York.
And from New York.
What does that mean?
And then he sees my camera, and
know
he
what that
starts
means.
asking me questions on the camera. He's like, "Yo, what is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the X Pro 3." He's like, "You shoot film too?" I was like, "Yeah, I dabble a little bit with that." And that's how that's how our relationship started.
Yeah, I met you in my living room or my kitchen with Joe Rhyme.
That was it. Yeah.
That's mostly I was looking at you too. I was like, who the hell did Rhyme bring in my house? Anyway, I've grown to love you.
But that's
And,
the culture, though. I mean, that's graffiti brings out the best of the best, I think. So yeah, so as a graffiti artist, I think what really hit a couple weeks ago, Joe, aka Rhyme, MSK, he released something that really hit me. It was like a photo pack, and he started talking about the role of photography and graffiti from a graffiti artist standpoint, and how back in the day, graffiti artists used to go to like the 1 hour photos, and trade photos. Like before Instagram, they used to go trade their photos overseas, and that's how like you guys used to communicate with each other. So I thought that was really interesting. So
I
I'm
called it
asking
pen
you,
paling.
yeah, like a pen pal, like
Yeah.
So elaborate a little bit on that situation.
When I got into graffiti and started actually like meeting people like SB1, who's from the Photo Kings, he was really pointing out how important the pictures I had already taken were, since some of the stuff had been gone. It was from the 80s. And that felt powerful for me, that someone appreciated my photos, especially being like 16, 17 years old and took the photos from previous years.
Right.
And some of that stuff was gone, and I remember SB was just like, damn, I never saw that. I can't believe you have it. And he started he'd be like, you should trade photos with other people. And he gave me Baser's address, which was living down here in Little Havana. We started trading photos, and I ended up being like the best man at his wedding. We're still friends.
So you got so
I've made lifelong friends through pen paling, trading photos of graffiti.
So what did you what did you guys write? Like just your names, or did you write like letters to each other?
Yeah, we wrote letters to each other. We would fight through letters too. He sent me pictures, and I would send him a trade back, and he didn't think the trade was equal. And he sent my pictures back and a double stack of pictures saying that was a real trade. And then I called him. I had his phone number, so I called him and told him I wanted to come down here and fight him. And I came down here in a Volkswagen van, like a Grateful Dead one, with a hole in the floor to drop drugs out of and stuff. And I got down here, and when I met him, I just kind of fell in love with him. So instead of fighting, we started doing graffiti together. And actually, I painted freight trains in Wynwood when there was freight trains right here during the day.
Yeah. Now there's
Imagine that.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, one of the artists that we're featuring in the magazine is by the name of Wayne One, who's actually an inspiration to me, because that's what got me into shooting. But I'll talk about that later. And he left. But Doc is actually one of them as well. So
Wayne's section is very exciting. It's almost looking at like some Martha Cooper shit for real.
Yeah. No, I mean a cat that's been painting since like the 80s. Really, and in the interview that we have that we talk about. He really touches on like the inner city like perspective, where you went to Woolworth. I don't know if anybody remembers Woolworth, but he talks about Woolworth and picking up the 110 camera, and and really like from a really humble and just like organic perspective, which I think was beautiful. From a graffiti artist standpoint, that's what I thought was really nice. Also, in the zine we're featuring. Just other like a street photographer perspective, where they're going out on a mission for the first time. They got this cat named James Berkeley, and he's got the story on going out, like meeting up with some random guys on Harlem at 2:00 in the morning and like bombing. I'm not sure who the writers are, but I'm an old school cat, but but I thought that was interesting. So, but let me pass it over to Erin and talk about the street culture and what you saw in Argentina, because what is on the zine right now, and I wish the slideshow was working so we can really like visualize it. It's so powerful, so organic, so like it's beautiful. Like just the graffiti scene in the background, like the b-boys, like.
Well, I was just thinking about what you said, and also I think between Alan Kett, Wayne, and like Mike Sace, there's this love of the history and the culture, and to sit with any of them and hear their stories, it's so rich and so important. Yeah.
Where's Wayne at?
On the run. What does he say? I'm on the go.
Oh man, I wish he was here.
COD time. He's late.
Yeah. We should FaceTime him.
Yeah, we should FaceTime him. No, that's dope. No, and I really gravitated towards Erin's work just because as a Latino, as an Ecuadorian, I found myself traveling through South America with my photography. And I actually I'm in this graffiti culture as a documenter, and that really gives me the passport to really travel like anywhere and connect with people and just be like, yo, what do you write? Like, what's the scene out here? And it really comes from like an authentic place. It really, it's like a true artist. I'm not going to Peru. I'm not going to, like South America and going to the tourist, like Machu Picchu. I'm more interested in like the artist, the culture, your parents, like where did that come from? So as a Latino American, like I found photography as a way to reconnect with my culture. And I thank graffiti for allowing me to have those connections. And it's like, what's his name? And it's really really giving me that opportunity to meet a lot of wonderful people. And like I said, here I am at the Museum of Graffiti. So John, tell us a little bit about street culture and photography from your standpoint. Because John's the cat that's on the street like almost every day. That's how I know him. I know him from the street. I'm like, he's consistent.
I think the streets, and you brought up something in relativity to the culture. When you think about street photography, you think about the essence of what we do is we kind of want to tap into any subculture or any original or authentic culture that we're around. So that's our job, you know what I mean? As far as like, that's what we want to tap into. And so when we land anywhere where we land is the first thing we want to do is kind of familiarize ourselves with that culture. And, the fact that we're working with graffiti artists on this zine, it really kind of brings forefront the culture of just basically those cats that just have their calling to the street. You know what I mean? Like you wake up, sometimes I ask myself, what am I doing? Why do I go out in the street and do this? You know what I mean? Why do I pick up a camera and go out in the street and shoot random people and just kind of put myself in these weird positions? And I think we all have that question as street artists and as creators. And I have a question for Dax is, if graffiti wasn't illegal in a sense, or if it wasn't a thing where you kind of broke the mold like a rebel, would you still do it? Like imagine you had to do graffiti and it was only indoors. It wasn't on the public. It was only indoors.
Graffiti for me, if it's not illegal, I don't even consider it graffiti. But if I didn't do graffiti, I would still paint. So I like to paint art, and I like to paint art in my studio. But I like to do graffiti in the street or, in places that is not with permission. So yeah, graffiti has to be illegal.
And I also wanted to ask, this is a question for anyone that kind of goes out in the street and kind of creates is, why do we use the streets as a canvas for our creations? Like, what is it about the streets that calls us out to create as a canvas versus someone that never, there's people that never touch the streets, in that way. They create every day, but they never touch the streets. And I always feel like there's that conversation to be had with the person that lives in the street, basically, and the person that, isn't as familiar with the streets.
That's a big topic. I mean, that's really, and from my perspective and from what I've heard in the culture, it's like you have your graffiti artists that, are from the street, and I'll reference Wayne, for example, like from the Bronx, and then you got the art school graffiti artists. And, somebody that was DJing earlier was schooling me on that when I was like, back in 2007, I was in my 20s.
Chill, don't speak on it.
Right? But yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I have something to say about what you said. I think, for some people, starving for attention, maybe not getting attention growing up that you need and stuff, you can find a lot of it in the streets. And I also found that I could be heard and seen or whatever I wanted by being in the streets and then also placing things publicly in the streets. I immediately started being known, and I had a voice all of a sudden, and it grew. And it's starting at a very young age. So to find that at any age is tremendous that I've learned, and some people will never be heard.
It's a common place. I mean, at least for me, it's a common place that we all share. You know, we all have to, you know, take the shoe leather express, and we all got to walk it sometimes. And you know, I don't want to be that guy in the limousine. I don't want to be that guy in the cab or the Uber or whatnot. Like, we were talking about it the other day. We took an Uber and we're like, fuck, man, you know. But it's.
I got a question for the audience. I wanted to ask everyone here if they how do they feel about photography just in general? Like how do you use photography in your life? If anybody has you love it? Why? Why do you love photography?
And are you a photographer or you just admire? Okay, so you get it. You get it. And it's a big debate, especially there's a big debate specifically with street photography based on, like, you know,
those fleeting
permission and so on. And we always talk about this, how like you have to know the language of the street. And for me, it's like reading the writings on the wall, and that's the name of the zine right now. And basically, you know, like really knowing how to get around and connect with people rather than just like rolling up into a neighborhood and just start snapping. Like, you really got to spend time and be part of the community before you can even, like, you know, put them on blast, put them on Instagram.
Exactly. And you said something about fleeting moments I wanted to tap into. What does that look like in conjunction to today? Like, when you think about, you know, because I'm always asking myself this question, why do people photograph so much today? Like, in today's era, like, everything is almost photographic in a sense.
Yeah.
So now this is kind of a good conversation to kind of so as a graffiti artist, as a street artist, a lot of times you're doing something that is considered somewhat illegal or something that's somewhat intimate as a creator. And sometimes we as documenters, we don't always understand what that relationship looks like, especially from someone that kind of does it for a living. You know, you kind of have a little bit more understanding about whether you should or shouldn't be doing something. Saying that's to say, how does that coexist? You wanting to show love, like you said, and, you know, promote, and you wanting to have a pure, authentic process that's almost uninterrupted. You know, how do you think, you know, that could coexist? What do you think?
Me?
I want to ask both of you guys. Like, what do you?
As far as where are the two things?
So you like, if I had to pair you two together, you would like to, like, say he was painting somewhere, you wanted to just capture and show love what he's doing, where he's at, and you might have thought, you know what, I'm just doing what I do instinctively, very organically, and maybe I might not want it to be out in that way. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, common courtesy usually says that someone would ask before they shoot pictures of you, but that has changed a lot. But I've just grown oblivious to it. But I also have the ability to not be seen, I believe. So.
And that's what the greats, like the so-called greats like Joel Meyerowitz and these, you know, these, and I just found out about these guys like literally like 5 years ago. I've been shooting for like 15 years, and I mean, yeah, shame on me, but you know, like these cats talk about being invincible on the street, you know, and I think that's the key. But I think what really shines is the intention, you know. So if you see somebody like intentionally pouring their soul, because that's what you're doing when you're creating something, you're really putting it out there, and people will feel that. And it doesn't matter where you are. And as a photographer, I that's what I feel. I feel that energy, and I've been to some like some rough places, and it's not like a badge for me. It's just more like really connecting with authenticity and people in general. And I feel like graffiti artists as well. They have that. It's like, oh, this guy's actually creating art. He's not vandalizing, or he's not, or as a photographer, you're not stealing my photo, like, and then you have to be ready to react. You have to be ready to respond. Somebody's like, like,
Yeah.
it's all about your intention.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I mean, I think that as a photographer, part of being a photographer, right, is being brave enough to take the photo. And I tell interns and assistants, now with digital, you should have your camera with you all the time and just be shooting, because if you are a photographer, that's what you want to do. Like,
Right.
That's all I want to do all the time. Much to the dismay of my family, they're like, please put the camera down. But I just want to always be documenting everything. So you have to be comfortable and vulnerable with people to have like a trust built where they sort of know that you're okay to take their photo. Like,
Where the
you're
good
not
intention shows in your demeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something else to be spoke upon. You said demeanor is the unspoken rules about the streets. You know what I mean? As far as like how you're operating, your body language, your social understanding of your environment, where you're at. And, I think that's very important as far as creators, because we have also a social responsibility, and I think that is being pushed back pushed back further back, because we're in this place, I feel like we only thinking about ourselves in that way, so we don't understand someone else's process in that way. So it's kind of like finding that nice balance to be able to create, but also create freely. I think one thing you mentioned about the streets is that I want to bring that up too, is that the freedom of creating in the street. If you think about that process, it's like you don't have the boundaries, you're open to the public, you're open to public scrutiny. I always feel like if you really want to know what you're doing, you should take it out to the streets. The public will tell you what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's unbiased. You know what I mean? They don't have there's no relativity.
We actually did an event just out of nowhere. We just like, let's do an event where we had all the submits for the zine pull up to Prince Street in down in Manhattan, and we started posting up all the submits that didn't make the zine. And out of respect to the artists that didn't make it, it's not that you didn't make it because your photo was whack. It was just like it just didn't go with the sequence. But regardless, we put it up on the street, and the reaction from the public, like these are people walking by, stopping and connecting, and that's what stood out, was connecting to the images.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like that was a home run. That was,
it spoke volumes. Yeah. And
So to
it's
that
kind of
point-
like
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, the street is a common place that we all share, and we all gotta kind of know how to get along. We're brothers and sisters.
That's right. It's the streets could be used as a gallery. You could you don't have to
And that's
be
what they do.
formal.
That's what-
Exactly.
Yo.
So you don't have to go. I think being informal as an artist is a tool. It's like that's what's gonna push your creativity to the next level, because you want to go outside the mold and you want to break the box. So I think as a street artist, you're constantly there in that place, because it's like you got to further push it, because you're always on the public display.
And the greats know how to maneuver, how to shake through how to be invincible.
I'm curious all the time.
Yes.
That leads me into everywhere.
Actually, we got
Yes.
a quote in the book about that.
Do we?
You were just naturally curious, and
Yes.
and somebody said that to me about, I can remember as far back as when I was like 3 years old, but I was always observant, and it's the same thing.
Finding things
Just
too. When
seeing
you actually
things,
find
just,
some shit, you've been curious and you find some shit.
Yeah. Look at Ram LZ. He used to
Urban
fi-
explorers.
He used to find just artifacts and just stuff on the street and create these samurai.
I have a question
characters.
about anonymity and street art and photography too. So I think that like back in the day, nobody knew who anybody was. We didn't have social media, and nobody knew who anyone was. I mean, I knew people's names, right? And then for graffiti artists, they were hidden. So I feel like my question really to you is like, what is it like now, like that people know who you are?
I'm pretty adaptable to anything, so
Yeah, he's a chameleon. This dude.
you know, I don't know if it's
He
because
gets
I
down
smoke weed my
everywhere.
whole life. I just be oblivious to shit.
And the
you know?
stories you got.
People
are-
bug on me, and some people don't give a shit, and I don't care about any of it. Honestly, I just like living in the moment, and I'm always looking for a little bit of excitement, and that leads me into amazing places. Being curious.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood out in our interview was your relationship with Ricky Powell. And John, you were cool with Ricky Powell.
There's a lot of Ricksters. I don't know if everyone knows Ricky Powell,
Yeah,
but
so-
listen, OG status to the max. One of the greats, one of the great people on this earth. That God bless him. He left his soul, but he was
Well, me and Ricky Powell were kindred souls. I met
Yes.
him in New York City at Frank 151 magazine.
Me
and
too. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yo, I'm
so-
telling you.
I did the Atlanta issue of that magazine, in case you didn't know. And that was probably one of the first big editorials I had contributed, lots of archives, and just got to art direct the whole thing. And but I met Ricky Powell, and we were kindred spirits, and we started doing some pretty naughty shit together right off the rip. And,
that was
and
Rick for you.
Through that shit, we bonded, and he's been really inspirational. I mean, he also was somebody who let me know that photographs that I had taken from my own archive that I didn't consider like art, they were just like archival.
Yeah.
He was blown away by and was pointing out the more creative aspects of the photos, it's them being time capsules,
Yeah,
and how people's
he was like
styles
that.
have already changed in the 10
That's
years that I took the
crazy.
picture. And I don't know, I started realizing that maybe my people would have interest in my stuff because my life, my everyday life, so this all seems regular to me, but I'm starting to learn that there's nothing regular about any of this shit.
No, we
and
had the
people bug on
same
it.
Rick experience, bro. Trust me, same
Yeah.
kind of thing, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he
we
was
smoked
great.
crack and
Yo,
bought it from Korean hookers.
But he got it though. He understood.
I didn't go that deep.
language.
Yeah, you're about crack from a Korean hooker. Ricky Paul does, you know.
Yo, didn't
Rick
he-
was wild. You couldn't survive a Rick night. I'm letting you know
Yeah, I
that right
love
now. You could not survive a Rick night. Yeah, that's a fact.
No,
God
no,
bless
no.
his soul.
God
he lived
bless
it to
him,
the
yo.
fullest, didn't
True
he?
story.
But didn't he give you a camera or something?
Yeah, he
Like-
gave me a camera on one of his broken Minolta autofocuses, which he had told me that he took in most of his pictures with these cameras.
Yeah.
He told me his secret is he had a Minolta autofocus with slide film in it. He's like,
Yeah.
people think I have this crazy camera and shit. He's like, it's just you hold the button halfway down and you get that shit, you know. And, but that shit worked for him, and those pictures are amazing. And that's kind of how my approach is. You ever seen this meme? It's like this dude wrestling a chair. And instead of no one knows what you're doing, you're not doing it wrong. If no one knows what you're doing, and that's kind of how I think we live life.
That's great.
Just
man.
wrestling
Seriously.
chairs.
You know,
No,
and
he's an inspiration, you know, and
that's a fact.
he is that cat, you know, that was on the street, and that really just got it, you know.
Yeah,
he really knew
100%.
the culture. I mean, his
he represented the
background,
culture well,
right,
yo.
right,
True
right.
story.
I know.
Like there's parts of New York, true story. I can't even walk down those blocks because of real talk. Like this, because his presence is still there. It's like when I think about it, I'm like, man, this cat, he was like that.
Well, he was culture. He wasn't
Oh,
just
exactly.
taking
Thank you.
from it or just
Thank
adding
you.
to it. I think he just exuded
was.
this culture.
Exactly. I wanted to tap a little bit more into the zine because we didn't get to dig too much into the zine. So me and Cisco, we started this zine about a year ago. It's called My I Got Lazy. It's a self-public zine, like we saying before, and basically we try to start it out monthly. We're at our 9th issue at this point, and every month we come up with a different topic. So it's been great because it's been very community based, and we have people submit to the zine according to the topic. So that's always cool to see so many different perspectives and have people that enjoy the craft and think like us submit from all over the world. And it's been great just curating a lot of those images with Cisco because I'm learning a lot, learning how to basically sift through hundreds of images and kind of go through that process of seeing 2 images matched together. It's been great because one thing that we've realized is how to kind of pair someone that's just starting in the craft with someone that's been shooting for 30 years. And make that make sense.
And that's the commonalities that we have on the street. You know?
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
like seeing somebody. You know, like it's just. it's beautiful seeing that sequence. And if you've had an opportunity to catch the last the first 8 issues, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of sweat, there's a lot of passion, to it. Like we didn't just like get people's submits and just throw them up. We literally sat, shifted through all of them, wrote the names in the back. Really, really, really went all out.
Yeah, there's a lot of work.
This project here, like I said, it's there's a lot of passion behind it, and a lot of good energy. And again, I feel like this is why we're here. 1 year later,
exactly.
So we have plans to really take it far, beyond the zine. And I always say the zine is just a seed. It's just a seed me to start planting it. Because who knows, this topic right now about graffiti and photography. I mean, I don't want to put ideas out there because I'm an idea guy, but this is definitely a book in the works.
I mean, it's already there. You know that. You got to speak on it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like there's a lot of, and in much respect to Martha, because Martha Cooper, like, she is the OG, the godmother. But there's some other cats that are doing it, but from different perspectives too, which I want to go back into something you said about Dax, and you said the job isn't done until the photo's taken. Oh, right.
Right? Like,
until you get the flick.
Until you get the flick. And that was so powerful. I'm like, man, we forget that you guys are also part of, documenting your own things. And, I kind of want to lend into that. Like, how do you feel about, the term photographer and all of this and in relativity to you documenting your own work?
I've always considered the word photographer to be kind of like a professional person behind a camera that maybe have mastered the tool.
Yeah.
So I've always been light where I use that word. I don't consider myself a photographer, but it's definitely been a torturous part of what I do because I've been painting things at night, and I know I want the day flick so bad that I'll stay up all night or something to get it and just feel sick, And but then later when you have the flick, it's everything.
Can I ask another question? Who in this room has ever seen a actual graffiti artist really work?
We got 5 hands. I would see more.
I want to say,
I would see more.
what is that process like, if you had to say?
Honestly, I see them like send stuff out, and then they like add in multiple layers, and then it comes together. Like,
Well, that don't sound like graffiti.
I was just, I was gonna say what I was gonna say is more of the process part. Far as like, I mean, I've been with guys like they're looking at a spot and they get obsessed with that spot, and no matter what, they have to get to that spot. It doesn't matter if it's 10 feet up, 20 feet up. It doesn't matter. So I'm just talking about that part, as far as like the relentlessness of them seeking out what they do. Is kind of like, and so when you think about the photo part, it's like essential.
Well, especially
You're putting yourself out there.
in my circles, if you didn't have a photo of what you did, they said you didn't do it, and it wasn't even worth mentioning.
No,
Like,
I think
So making the photo the most important prize.
And think about this, like when you think about photos, like what you just said, you've been doing this a long time. It's now people think, I could just snap in my phone. You had to actually take a photo then. You know what I mean? You had to figure out, I have a camera, I have to do this, I have to take a photo.
I decided to separate that too. I shoot all sorts of nonsense on my phone all day long. I'm the worst.
Well, now too, but you know what I mean.
I'm the prototype for the millennial. Even before social media and phones, I was treating this shit like that. I was taking pictures of everything and making everybody look at it and stuff. Look at my photo albums and
Look at my
Yeah,
photo.
you
album.
got
talk
some
about each
albums,
damn
bro.
picture in great detail.
Yo, I have a quote from Wayne that says, the reason I started taking photos, and we were like deep into the conversation, he goes, the reason I started taking photos was because I saw graffiti on the trains and was trying to understand what it is and what was going on. And I got that. Like, it's like, as an observer, when I was a
Pretty
young
good.
age, it's like you want that train to stop and you want to like observe it, like just take it in and be inspired, because he's looking at it like art. Not just a train with graffiti.
Especially with the doors open on there. I want to get a magnifying glass and see who's up inside that train.
I want to ask another question. What if it wasn't so fleeting? What if the graffiti wasn't so fleeting? What would that mean to you?
What does fleeting mean?
As far as like, if it came and went. So on the train, it's gonna, it's gonna come and go. It's not gonna stay there long. On some buildings, it's gonna come and go. Or do you like the fact that it might stay up for a while? What do you think?
Longevity is everything.
Okay.
But we have a quote that says to write on walls is natural, but to write on trains is divine. and
Oh,
trains move, to write on
shit.
moving objects in general, you know? And but also to write on walls because I like to go far and wide, so leaving things far away is really important for me. So to be at home and to be able to paint on freight trains or something that moves far has always been exciting to me because I didn't want to just be like a hometown hero only. It's very important for me for the world to know who I am and what I do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Realistically.
the freights are. I got put onto the freights from a documentary standpoint, and actually, one of the artists in the book, his name is Pablo Allison. He documents the migrant movement in La Bestia throughout Mexico. Migrants coming up north, and I really gravitated to his work. First of all, as an immigrant, but also seeing like the positivity he was and the messaging he was doing with graffiti, and on top of that, he was also using photography. So he was documenting the migrant situation, but also encouraging and sending positive messages to the migrants that are riding these like really dangerous trains, freights.
Yeah, I want you to get into that a little bit. Both of you talk about the freight train situation.
Last April I actually hopped on La Bestia, and it was.
What is La Bestia? You gotta,
La
explain.
I mean, I don't think people know La Bestia. Because
Exactly.
when I was down there, I was like, damn, like Americans don't really know the situation with migrants and what they're doing to come to this country for these opportunities. And La Bestia is a train that the migrants take from South America up north because they can't afford an airline or whatnot. They're really just like doing what they can, and it's very, they're risking their lives to get here and to have this opportunity. So yeah, and then on top of that, like I said, I find out that my homeboy Pablo, he's writing these inspirational messages to encourage the migrants to keep going forward, and his message is migrantes. He writes migrantes valientes, which is valiant, brave migrants, and I don't think many people know that. In a sense, like Middle America, I don't think people understand how brave and how powerful that is.
No, that's serious.
Yeah. So when I saw that firsthand. It really, I came back to New York with like a little PTSD, just taking in that energy, and but yeah, it's a wild,
Exactly.
it's a tough topic, but at the same time, it's in relation to graffiti, that's I think that's interesting how we have that perspective, how graffiti is being used as a source of communication and letting people know what's happening. And at the same time, Pablo is also documenting that. So you'll see that in the zine. And by the way, if you RSVP'd,
You get a free zine.
Yeah.
Free zine.
And
free
then
zine.
we have some extra ones too as well. And like we said, only 250 are made. So
Yeah. They're very limited.
This is art. This is
Yeah.
art. This is
So hold on to them.
Yeah, that's it.
If you know about Frank 151, you know what's up.
Straight
But
up.
on another note, I wanted to get into something you just mentioned earlier about how does it feel. I'm going to ask both of you guys this question, to go out in the street. And you did it kind of one time, going down to Chile and Argentina.
I've
and,
done it more than once.
I mean, as
thanks.
far as
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you guys-
Yes, I'm sorry. I was just saying that to say, as far as like risking your life to go do something, to basically just create and put your art out there. Like you're getting on a moving freight train to basically write your name and tag. Well, how does that feel? Are you ever fearful to kind of create your craft?
Well, I don't usually get on the moving trains, but I wait for them to find a place where they don't move. I have been on a moving train, but not doing graffiti.
Not lately.
But I like venturing out into the unknown. Whenever you go to somewhere you've never been before, you're naturally cautious, and I think that creates some sort of adrenaline, perhaps. And it's very
No, but that's it.
kind of a high.
What you said earlier in this week, we talk about fear, and as a graffiti artist, you're overcoming that fear of getting up and getting caught by the cops and security and whatever, society. And as a photographer, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I like
It's-
overcoming fear,
Exactly. So,
spiritually and in the physical.
that's it. And
What about you, Erin? You have a little fear going out there?
Well, I mean, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, I think being a photographer, you're always, you have to accept being uneasy all the time in order to get the shot that you want to document. And it's a constant thing. You just push yourself out there. Like, I was looking at your work today, and just the interaction with people on the street, taking their Polaroid, their portrait, and the whole interaction. I mean, I'm sure, like, sometimes you ask people and they say no.
Yes, but you know, with that type of work, I don't ask anyone, which is a weird thing. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Well, I'm saying, like, sometimes I think.
But I'm always fearful,
Right.
to be honest, because I'm meeting strangers. These are
see
strangers.
I mean, you do ask sometimes, you know. Like,
Oh, yeah, I
you
mean,
work on prints,
for-
yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, like walking through.
Oh
Little
yeah,
Haiti?
when I'm shooting street,
Oh.
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
sometimes I ask, sometimes I don't. And I feel like with social media, before it was a little easier because there weren't that many photographers and we could just do whatever. And nobody was really checking for us. But I also think that for me, like, I just like to be a fly on the wall. Like, I don't want anyone to notice me. And one of the great things about becoming old is no one notices me. Like, I'm invisible. And it's great.
I notice you.
I noticed you too, Erin.
I saw
No,
you a
but,
mile
like-
away.
We all noticed Erin, all right?
Shut up. No, I'm just saying, like, if I go to an event and everybody's really young, they don't notice me. And it's cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who's that mom over there? That's fine with me. I just want to get my shot.
You need to go to the
No,
grown
but
folks party.
Someone
No, but-
told me
but-
about the gift of being invisible, how much of a gift that is. And I think that's part of what
But
you're saying.
again, I think that's your intention just radiates, you know. So people, you command that respect, not even knowingly, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I see it.
But I also
You know?
think that, and this is like another thing I always tell photographers, assistants, whatever you have, like, in terms of your background, where you can go, use that. I'm a woman. I can go into women's spaces. You know?
Knowledge.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, if I go into other spaces, you know, I'm going to be more evident, and I have the confidence at this point to do that. I don't care. But when you're starting out and you're working on your projects, go and shoot your family, shoot your friends. And I thought, I mean, gosh, when I look back on when I was in college, I was shooting crap. A lot of times I didn't know I should be documenting all the cool stuff that was going on with my friends because I was just trying to learn, you know? So I think that it's such a great opportunity. Like, everything is interesting, really.
Totally. Yeah. No, again, your work is powerful. Like, you know, I'm hanging out in the studio, and we're going through her work, and I'm looking at some graffiti stuff with graffiti in the background. But I'm also looking at the hip hop stuff that you did, and I'm like, damn, man, she's got one of the best portraits I've ever seen, and it's like DMX. Like, you got him like in such a moment, you know. And I don't, you know, it's like I think it's your intention just radiated towards that, and I see that a lot, and not just, you know, the not just DMX, but like your other work as well. So it really, like, your personality is coming out.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And the same could be said about, you know, Dax over here getting
Yes.
up, even his photographer
Yes.
work as well, and John as well. You know,
And you said you don't speak, Erin, but I think the point is that you're speaking through your work, you know, and the same with you, Dax, is like sometimes that's a voice of an artist. You know, we don't always have to be on a mic or do it that way, but sometimes that's what we do. We just go out and we speak loudly with our art and our craft.
Like,
So
I
that's
don't
always
know
cool.
about you, but, well, I mean, I'm just a pretty awkward person, so I don't like behind the scenes videos. It's like, just shoot me. Because what am I talking about when I'm shooting
Yeah.
someone? I'm trying to get a moment,
Yeah.
and I'm just speaking, like, nonsense. I don't ever want that out anywhere, you know? And that's, like, the difference. I mean, it's like, what can we do to get the photo, to get the person to trust us? Like, what are we talking about? I don't want that on someone's, like, dumb BTS thing. Like,
Right.
that's
You know, but
boring.
let me ask you a question, because someone said this to me, and I was kind of like taken aback. They said, but what about the person that you might inspire? And that hit home for me. And I was like, wow, that's something we don't think about. I mean, I'm with you. I don't want people in my process, but
Well, you're cooler than me.
no way.
Now you're
No
cooler
way,
than me.
No way. You're the coolest. But I mean, that's the point. It's just like, I understand completely what you're saying. It's like, you don't always want, people think that you want people in your, I said this earlier, it's like, people think, oh, they see you like, oh, you want the attention. But meanwhile, you just want to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, you just want to work. So it's always like finding that nice balance between the two. But also, you never know who you're going to inspire. So I think that's also cool about the newer generation is that they believe heavily in that part, that they're inspiring each other or, that they're getting inspiration from.
And that's what we're doing with My I Got Lazy. We're inspiring anyone and everyone, and we're trying to make this free. We're trying to make it free. We're trying to make it a source of inspiration for people to just pick up. Just like Frank 151, but we really want people to pick it up, look at it, really understand it, and digest it versus than going on your phone. I mean, yeah, we got an Instagram page, but we don't, we're not like...
Yeah, you can only get it in person, or we have a limited amount online.
You have to. Yeah, you just have to go pick it up, and that's the
Exactly.
whole point: is to be active, is to get out there, go on the street, pick it up. We have some like secret locations that we just do random drops, but more in relation to the culture.
Yeah.
So once again, I want to thank the Museum of Graffiti, Allison, Ket, the staff,
Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
and again the artists. I mean, everybody's been
Alex.
so
Yes.
And this journey is
Thank you, guys.
we're just scratching the surface. We're just beginning, and we have a lot more in store. So thank you so much.
These
Thank you,
directors'
guys.
chairs are torturous.
Really? I don't know. This delay. Yeah.
I kind of
I
next
feel
time.
broken now,
Next
man.
time we're gonna
gotta have a
get
little
like
lean to it or something.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get some sort of
Yeah,
couch
yeah.
situation. Maybe we'll do it down there. Actually,
We love you.
Next time we'll do it on the street.
We love all of you.
On the streets. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.